Before we jump into a preview for Denver's upcoming minicamp, who you got? Game 5, Nuggets or Heat? Denver can close it out. If they go up 4-1, I just don't see a way that he can come back from that. So let me know what your thoughts are, who you got winning down below in the comment section. I wonder how many people in the last 6 seconds during the intro video were screaming, dude, you can't come back from a 4-1 lead. The series is over. Nuggets in 3. Okay, welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here with some actual football talk here, a primer, if you will, for the upcoming minicamp, which is June 13th to the 15th. So our last look at this team until late July when training camp gets underway. So with that being stated, I have 5 storylines just to keep an eye on over the next 3 days, starting with this one. It's Russell Wilson watch. Anytime the guy breathes in public or in front of a camera, people are going to talk about it, people are going to tweet about it, and then we're going to talk about it on the show here. Now, he came to OTAs noticeably lighter and thinner. He really stuck to his New Year's resolution, power to Russ. He looked like he dropped 15 to 20 pounds. I mean, he did not give an exact number, but he is looking a lot lighter on his feet. We all know about how last season did not go as planned, and honestly, we don't really need to rehash that up all that much. But his left tackle, Garrett Bowles, gave a very nice comment when he's speaking to the media last week and talking about Wilson, and I wanted to share it with everyone here. Bowles said he's a great dude. He's the same guy every single day. He works his butt off, and I'm ready for that stuff to go away. And when it goes, everyone's going to eat crow. And I'll probably be one of those people that eat crow because I've definitely been a critic of Wilson's play over the last year. But you love to see this, right? You love to see the left tackle, a franchise cornerstone piece, sticking up for his quarterback, which maybe that's why Dalton Risner is still unsigned. I don't know, Jim. But it is a good reminder. Wilson last year had a clown of a head coach. It's going to be very different this season with Sean Payton as his head coach, right? You go from Clown Hackett, nice dude, would love to get a beer with, would love to have on the show, but not be the head coach of the Denver Broncos, to future Hall of Famer head coach Sean Payton. Things are going to turn around drastically, in my opinion. I have tossed out these projected stats before. It's really dumb, it's really early, but we all love numbers. So if I had to project what Russ does this upcoming season, 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, right? An uptick in touchdowns, a downgrade in the interceptions, and a solid kind of middle-of-the-pack completion percentage. That feels very appropriate for a one-year turnaround with Sean Payton as your head coach. So do you think Russ will end up being saved by Sean Payton? Is he going to come in here, knight in shining armor, and just wipe away the disastrous 2022 season and restore Russell Wilson to let Russ cook for him and get him back to his peak Seahawk days? Give me your thoughts in the comments section below. For me, there will be an improvement in 2023. I think that's something I'd stake my reputation on in career. Russ is going to be better this season than he was last year with Sean Payton as his head coach. I don't know if he will look like the $245 million contract extension quarterback with Sean Payton as his head coach. That boat might have sailed and might have left the harbor, but hopefully Sean Payton can get him close to $245 million for George Payton's mental health, so we can feel like it was an absolute all-time robbery deal from a GM to quarterback perspective. But I think there will be an improvement at the end with Russ having Sean Payton as his head coach. Moving on to our second storyline to keep an eye on. We're going to get 2019 Courtland Sutton back. Feels like it's trending in that direction a little bit. He talked about how he was kind of flattered, at least, to be brought up during the trade rumors, and kind of goes to show it shows that at least someone out there wants you, and that's flattering, and that was refreshing to hear from Courtland Sutton. But Cecil Lammey does a great job of covering the team. Back in late May, tweeted out, I thought wide receiver Courtland Sutton looked explosive. No, that's not a typo. He was moving really well and had good burst today, better than I've seen in some time. Just one practice, it's one OTA, but hopefully you can stack a couple of those on, right? You turn OTAs into minicamp, turn that into a really good training camp, into a good preseason, and then hopefully Courtland Sutton in the regular season can get back to being a 1,000-yard receiver like he was in 2019 and finding the end zone more than just 4 times over the last 2 seasons. We've seen these numbers. We've also seen these next set of numbers of what he's done since getting the bag, and that is not a whole lot. 2 touchdowns in 22 games and 988 yards. Big drop-off compared to what he was doing pre-extension, which granted was about double the games, but still, you would think that he would age a little bit better and improve, and unfortunately, just has not been the case for Courtland Sutton. Now, another big thing to mention here is he needs to have a big season because the price tags are big in 2024. Look at the wide receiver price tags for Courtland Sutton, Patrick, and Jeudy, the cap hits. $17.3 million, $13 million, and $12.9 million. 3 receivers, all pretty well over $12 million. That's just not going to stand in 2024. One of these guys will be moved on from. It's not going to be Jeudy with his 5th-year option unless you trade him. So then it comes down to Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick, and we'll see who looks like a better receiver in 2023. But my prediction is whoever looks worse probably won't be here in 2024, right? When you look at the cap savings for Denver, if they move on from him, and we're talking way down the line here, but pre-June 1st, 2024, nearly $10 million in cap savings. And if you do after June 1st, you can spread out that dead cap hit. Denver won't think long and hard about that if Courtland Sutton does not have a good season this upcoming year. So who will be the leading wide receiver for this team? At the end of the day, the end of the season, who will be the number 1 wide receiver in receiving yards? Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, or Tim Patrick? Type the jersey number down below who you think will be wide receiver 1 in 2023. On to storyline number 3. Our first look at Frank Clark, the newest member of this Denver Broncos roster, signed a 1-year, $5.5 million contract, can make a little bit more with incentives. Now, at least in the eyes of PFF, he was sort of middle of the pack last year as far as edge rushers go, ranked 68th out of 119 qualifying players. After 4 years in Seattle and 4 years in Kansas City, he enters year 9. Now, we all know how good he was with the Chiefs, especially in the postseason. But the regular season numbers, I'd be lying if I said they haven't dipped a little bit lately. I mean, he's still coming off a 5-sack, 18 tackle for loss season, so he still has some big play potential, no doubt about that. And I think he's going to step in and be a starting member of this team. I don't like the idea of, oh, you signed Frank Clark for some good depth. No, Jacob Martin was a good depth piece. Frank Clark is a starting player on this defensive line, and with Baron Browning getting knee surgery, this could be not a replacement for Browning, but just replenishing his sack production and the pass rush abilities he brings on every snap, so you don't have a dip in that department. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's show, we crossed 14,000 subscribers. Now we're marching on to 15,000 subscribers, and we need all of your help who have not subscribed yet. We have 932 subs to go, and I'm trying to reach that number by the time training camp rolls around. So 6-7 weeks away, can we reach that number? Well, it's not really up to me. It's up to you guys. So if you're looking for a Broncos YouTube channel with free content all off-season and then in-season long, this is the channel for you. Hit that sub button down below. Fourth thing I am watching for during mandatory minicamp is an update on Javonte Williams. We got a brief update during OTAs. Some time has passed now. He was a limited participant during the organized team activity sessions. Hopefully, it's not going to get a drastic change. I don't think he's going to be a full go after 2 weeks. But hopefully we just continue to get more news coming from number 33. Sean Payton a few weeks ago said this on Javonte Williams' rehab. I would tell you that we expect him to be ready for the start of training camp, and that's good news. His rehab is going well. I don't want to speak for him or Bo or anyone else, but we get the daily reports. And look, we're pretty tight-lipped relative to information going out, but I've read a lot, and I think that his rehab's going well. Now, Denver desperately needs Javonte Williams to come back on the sooner side. I think they can tread water with Samaje Perine. I don't think you're going very far with Samaje Perine as your RB1 for a handful of weeks. So if Williams is unable to go week 1, c'est la vie, the show go on. But if Williams starts to miss more and more time, then it could become a bit of an issue. Now, in his 2 seasons so far, rookie year showcased a lot of potential, average almost 4.5 yards a pop, 900 yards on the ground when splitting time with Melvin Gordon. But last year, He didn't really get off to all that great of a start when he was healthy. He had that disastrous goal line fumble against Seattle, but it was early in the season. He was splitting time with Melvin Gordon, essentially, like a 60-40 split, if you will. Now, hopefully, we can get him back 100% or as close as possible for start of the season, and we'll go from there. Now, before we get on to the rest of the show today, great deal with Fanatics. You can get this Patrick Surtain jersey on sale, less than $100, which you don't really see very often. And there's no gimmicks here. It's not one of those knockoff Walmart jerseys. Sorry, I really shouldn't say that with Walmart owning this team here. But you know the ones I'm talking about here. You can get an actual Nike Pat Surtain jersey under $100 when you go to chatsports.com/Surtain jersey. That link's in the comments and the description of today's video. Fifth and final thing I am watching for this week at practice. How about the rookies, right? Denver doesn't have a ton of rookies. They made 5 selections in this past draft. Marvin Mims, Drew Sanders, Riley Moss, J.L. Skinner, and Alex Forsyth. So we have some UDFAs. I think 1, maybe 2 will make this 53-man roster with not a big draft class coming in. But it's always fun to see the rookies once again. And who do you guys think is going to have the biggest impact of this rookie class in 2023? Marvin Mims and Drew Sanders and Riley Moss are all really good answers, but maybe a bit easy answers. I'm going to dig deep here. What about Alex Forsyth? Of the 5, he was the last one picked, but I think he has the best shot of starting week 1. If he can beat out Lloyd Cushenberry for the center job, and he has all of training camp and preseason to do that, and the bar isn't really all that high, Forsyth might be one of those picks where people look back and go, he was a 7th-round pick, one of the last in the draft, despite being a starter in his rookie season. I love Marvin Mims and Drew Sanders. I just don't know if they'll have a ton of snaps early on. Whereas Alex Forsyth, if he wins the job and he is sandwiched between Ben Powers and Quinn Miners, 2 of the best guards in football, they're going to make the 7th-round pick look pretty good in my opinion. Now, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day and tuning in. We're going to sign off and catch up with everyone later.